Good afternoon and welcome. Welcome indeed, yes, to a Monday edition of the Mark Moses Show, only right here on the Mark Moses Show podcast. See, I always get confused doing that because I used to do that intro on a radio program, but now we're all full digital in 2025. We're with my good friend, basketball coach Billy Mims. We're going to talk NBA Finals. Before we do that, yes, we are broadcasting from the Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Take back control of your life. Call them today, 1-800-747-FREE. That's 1-800-747-3733. Anidjar and Levine Accident Attorneys. Also want to give a shout-out to Walk On Sports Bistreaux there in Vieira and our official sponsor for What's on Tap, Chumley's Depot in downtown Melbourne. Let's get them on. I just brain farted there. It's kind of like watching these games. My man, Billy, how you doing today?
Mark, I'm doing great. Obviously, it's always fun to chat with you. And, hey, we're talking NBA playoffs. Can't get much better than that. 1-1 in the series right now. And I think it's still got some interesting twists and turns ahead.
All right, I'm going to give you my thoughts, and then I will give you the floor. I said this last Monday when we discussed the previewing of this finals. I said I need 2 games to digest this. That's exact. I'm on record. I have the tape. I needed 2 games to digest everything that's happening so far. And after 2 games, the Thunder are a better team. Now, maybe they're a better home team. We'll see what happens in game 3. But the Thunder had no business losing that game 1. They should be up 2-0. Give credit to the Pacers for stealing that game 1. That's what you need to do as a road team. But last night, I'm like, look, the Thunder have to put their foot down and show their dominance on offense and defense, and they did. It's 1-1. It should be 2-0. And honestly, and it sounds like therapy, I'm telling you all my thoughts here. I'm watching that game in the third quarter, and I'm like, is this even the finals? What am I watching exactly? It didn't feel like I was watching the finals. What did you think? We'll start there. What did you think of just watching the game as a viewer last night?
Well, I thought that, unfortunately, Indiana let the game get away from them early again.
Yeah.
Just like they let the game 1 get away early, but they never quit. They kept fighting back. They kept fighting back. They kept fighting back. And maybe shocked OKC and all their fans in Oklahoma City and shocked the basketball world with their comeback, come from behind, never say die, last second Tyrese Halliburton game-winning shot to steal game 1. They fell behind in game 2 last night again, right? And the difference was this time they just didn't seem to have the fight back in them they had in game 1. And I'll credit some of that to the smothering defense of OKC.
Yeah.
I agree with you on one thing. You said a moment ago that you felt like OKC were the best team in the finals. I think they're the best defensive team in the finals, okay? I think Indiana's just as good offensively. Last night, all 5 starters for the Pacers scored in double figures.
Yeah, I saw that.
All 5 starters and, Mark, 2 subs. They had 7 players score in double figures last night. They had TJ McConnell and Benedict Mathurin off the bench adding 25 points. Now, I know that sounds great, but then when you look at the point production, 38 points off the OKC bench from Alex Caruso and Wiggins combined for 38. So both benches, I thought, had some impact, right? But let's look back. The starting 5s, all 5 Pacers scored in double figures. All 5 Thunder did not.
No.
Only 3, the big 3 for the Thunder scored in double figures. Now, what's interesting about that, Mark? Okay, SGA is SGA. He had 34 points in the game, right? He had a typical SGA performance. In fact, in their 4 games this year against the Pacers, he's averaging 37 points a game, okay? So Rick Carlisle said in the post-game press conference last night, SGA is going to score. He said you can give him 35 points tomorrow before he gets on the plane to Indianapolis. Go ahead and give him 35 points for the next game Wednesday night. He's already got his 35. Rick Carlisle is conceding that, okay? But if you look at everybody else, well, then all of a sudden you said team. I think right now the MVP, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and you know my feelings on that.
We know your feelings on it. You've said it for weeks. I know you think the Joker should be the MVP. I know.
You got it. But Gilgeous-Alexander, SGA, is the best player. He's the best individual player in these finals right now. And I would say if he keeps playing like he's playing, win the championship or not, he's the MVP of the finals, even if they lose it in 7 games, okay? Now, why do I say if they lose it? Because you talked about who's the best team. Well, now we're going to Indiana. Yeah. I want to find out how better the Pacers play at home and how much different the Thunder play on the road. Because last night on the road, the 5 Pacer starters outplayed the 5 Thunder starters. There were 2 differences in the ball game, okay? For my feeling last night. 2 differences in the ball game, okay? If the starting 5 all showed up and played pretty good for the Pacers, but only 3, the big 3 of the starting 5 showed up and played extremely well for the Thunder, what were the difference in the game, okay? The difference in the game came down to 2 things. 1, free throws, okay? Free throws, simple fact. It ended up being a 16-point game last night, okay? The Thunder made 10 more free throws than the Pacers. They shot more free throws. They made more free throws. And where does a lot of that come from? SGA.
Yeah.
He likes to get into the paint. Part of his 34 points is always going to be mid-range jump shots, paint touches, and getting to the free throw line, okay? He got that last night, all right? So one big difference in the 16-point difference in the game, 10 more free throws made by the Thunder. Well, then that comes down to only 3 field goals difference. The Thunder made 3 more 2-point field goals than the Pacers, all right? Final thing to talk about here, Pacers made 14 threes in the game last night on the road in front of the loudest crowd in the NBA. What did the Thunder do? 14 made threes. There was very little difference in that. Now, the Thunder usually win big because of their defense. Last night, the Pacers only had 15 turnovers. And the Thunder didn't have a whole lot of points off turnovers, okay? So it wasn't necessarily the 15 turnovers that led to the loss. I thought it was fouling, the additional free throws, and one last thing. When I say all 5 Pacers scored in double figures, Tyrese Halliburton only had 5 points with 7 minutes to go in the game.
That was huge. Huge.
He scored 12 points in the final 7 minutes, but really and truly, the game was over and done by the time Halliburton showed up last night. In game 1 and throughout the playoffs, he's been a constant factor throughout the game in some way, shape, or form for the Pacers. And the key to their comeback, he didn't look like he was physically and mentally all there. He wasn't looking for shots in the first half. And in the second half of the ball game, when he finally decided, hey, I better start making some shots, he did, but it was too little, too late.
It's a great point. We're here with Billy Mims talking NBA Finals. A couple notes. Game 1 had horrible TV ratings, but it's not shocking. It's not. Look, water is wet.
Didn't we say that, though? Didn't we bring that up?
Everyone
This is
knew.
not New York and L.A. in the finals.
No, and I did a thing this morning on TikTok where it's like, there's this feeling, I bet you the New York media is like, well, if the Knicks were there, and my thought is, yeah, you get better ratings. The Knicks would lose by 50, though, to this team. What are you talking about? They'd hammer. The Thunder would have destroyed the Knicks in this series, probably a sweep, because the Thunder are just a better team, and so are the Pacers. Terrible TV ratings. There's no logo. It's very weird. Usually we get you get the Larry O'Brien trophy on the court. There was none of that. I don't understand. Like, why would so game 2, ABC digitally put the O'Brien Trophy on the court, just so you'd have an idea what's going on. Rebounding was key also last night. Yeah. Game 1, Pacers was something like 50-30. Game 2, Thunder out-rebound the Pacers. I know that's right. They did a better job. I think Caruso's 20 was big. I think also Wiggins, and I'm like, is that Andrew Wiggins? No. It's some other Wiggins guy. I think that was key. I think Dort and Alex Caruso are big on defense, but I agree with what you're saying, where you don't see the stats, but I think Halliburton's the key. I think if you are game 3, I mean, you're the coach for over 40 years. I want your thoughts on this. If you are Rick Carlisle, you got to tell Halliburton, and you've been coaching him all season, okay? But we need more from you. You've got to score. You've got to play this 7 seconds or less we talked about last Monday. They've got to run. They got to feed off those idiots like Pat McAfee and the rest of those fans. I'm sorry I had to take a shot there. But like they've got to, the energy of that crowd has got to help the Indiana Pacers as the 6th man. And Halliburton's got, it's not Siakam, it's Halliburton. He's got to get up and down the court. He's got to hit some shots. I think they can win some games in Indiana, but I think a lot of pressure's on Indiana now to get it done. What do you think?
I go back and say this, that if Indiana goes home and plays better, now again, if they play at home the same way, the same pace and everything they played in both games 1 and 2 in OKC, I don't believe they'll get it done. Okay?
I don't either. I don't.
They got to play better, okay? Mm-hmm. But Mark, it's the NBA. Most teams played better at home.
Yes.
Okay. So how much better will the Indiana Pacers be in game 3 at home? Just think about this. If they come back and have a big win, say it's not a last second shot, but they actually pull away and have a big. I remember OKC going to
Denver.
How about Minnesota?
Oh, Minnesota. Yeah, you're
right.
They
lost by 40 at Minnesota after a huge win in OKC. They lost by 40 to the Timberwolves.
See, that's why they can't. Okay, if the Thunder win this title, I'm not considering them as an all-time great, even though they won 68 games. But if you're an all-time juggernaut, you can't go 7 games against the Joker and then get embarrassed against Minnesota, even though you won in 5 games. And then you lose that game 1 at home. You're not an all-timer. Sorry.
But I agree. And you go back, I mean, all-time champions, you don't look back and say, wow, they got blown out in a championship game. Very, very rarely do you see that. But to lose by 40 in the conference finals at Minnesota, if they play like that at Indiana, here's what I'm saying. If Indiana can come back in their first game at home in Indianapolis in front of the Pacer fans, in front of Caitlin Clark, in front of all the celebrities that you can get from a cow town like Indianapolis.
John Mellencamp, he'll be
John
there.
Mellencamp, very good.
You'll have him.
Whatever you can get. But if that crowd really comes to get behind the Pacers, right? Larry Bird is seen walking around the building. Maybe that'll shade some of the old Boston Celtics, the leprechauns under the the parquet floor. Maybe Larry can bring some of that shamrock luck to Indiana. And if they get a big win in game 3 and then a close win in game 4, look at what we're talking about here now. That would be 3-1 down, and it becomes a 3-game series where the Pacers only have to win 1 game.
And so you're right.
You said you needed 2 games to get a feel for this series. I'm saying I need 4. I need to see what the Pacers will bring to the table. And even if they can win 1 game in Indiana, take it back 2-2, I still believe it becomes a 3-game series. So, again, if they can get 1 in Indiana, the only way they get beat for the finals is for OKC to have to win game 6 in Indiana, or they would have to lose game 7 in Oklahoma City. So, again, give me these 2 games. Now, if they completely blow game 3, then it might be over in 5 again.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay? Game 3 is pivotal. but they got to play well in game 3. And here's a stat that I saw late last night that I wanted to share with you.
All right.
OKC this season, when you talk about the Knicks fans saying, well, if we were there, well, what about the Boston Celtics fans? Well, if we were there, or if Tatum hadn't gotten injured, right? You hear all those things flying around. Let me just make this one point. So far this year, the OKC Thunder, their record against Eastern Conference opponents is 30-2. 30-2.
Man.
So, I mean, the Pacers did win game 1 on the road at OKC. I don't think anybody out there in the Eastern Conference has any room to downgrade the Indiana Pacers and say it ought to be us and not them. OKC is 30-2 versus Eastern Conference opposition, and the Pacers just won game 1. So to me, the Pacers belong. They're the right representative for the Eastern Conference, but that 30-2 and that 40-point loss to Minnesota and that 7-game series against Denver shows me what I've said all along. The Western Conference right now, over the last few years, even though Boston has won the title, right? The Western Conference overall, far stronger conference.
That's a great point. I thought about that this morning also, where I was like, putting my notes to get ready for you today. And I appreciate you coming on. We're here with Billy Mims, basketball coach. We're talking NBA Finals. Yeah, Indiana never would have made it out of the West. They never would have made the final. Never. You are absolutely right. There are too many teams that will knock them out. And again, I'm with you. Indiana's a great team. My thought for game 3 is very emotional type game. I think there's going to be a lot of emotions. Remember, Indiana went up 2-0 on New York, went home, said, well, we're going to kick their ass now, right? And they were up big, and then Karl Anthony Towns went crazy in the 4th and stole that game, and they lost, and they were in shock. I think of it as like playoff hockey. When you go on the road, there's this tsunami that starts the game, 5-6 minutes, where the home team, the home crowd, the home energy, they're throwing everything at you, everything. And you got to survive those first 5 or 6 minutes. I feel the same thing. If you are the Thunder, I'm with you. That crowd is going to be going bananas. And if you are Indiana, you're going to come out and you're going to go bombs away. We're going to go up pace. We're going to hit these threes, and we're going to really stick it to you. My question for you is, if you are the Thunder, do you need to survive that opening and just like, look, keep this slow paced. Let's play our game. How do you attack it if you're Oklahoma?
Well, that's a great point, Mark. And I thought last night that in all honesty, the Pacers, I kind of thought the Pacers were going to win the first quarter.
Yeah.
And Shea turned up and was Shea, right? But the Pacers started out with the lead. They were playing pretty good basketball early in the first quarter. And then Chet Holmgren decided to run to the closest 8-foot-tall telephone booth, and he jumped out with a Superman cape on. Chet Holmgren showed up, who didn't show up in game 1 that much. He was not as big an offensive factor in game 1. One of the reasons they only scored 110 points in game 1. One of the big 3 didn't contribute a lot of offense. Well, in the first quarter, Chet Holmgren scored 11 points. 11 points in the first quarter, right? I thought he was en route to have a huge game. He kind of tailed off after that, and everybody, which is why Oklahoma City needed their bench support last night. Alex Caruso, and as you said, Wiggins. Yeah. Wiggins and Caruso. They needed that 38 points because even though Chet got his double digits early on, the rest of the game he was mediocre. So almost, if you look at the whole second half, almost 3 of the starting 5 for OKC aren't really there. They needed Wiggins and Caruso to be able to have enough firepower to win that game. If you look at one other thing, the Pacers have been pretty consistent on the road. They won game 1. They scored what? 110, 111 points.
Yeah.
Game 1, right? Last night they scored 107 points. They're going to get around 110 points, right? What they have to find a way to do is slow the tempo of the game down and limit OKC's points. Okay, they can't give up 123 points in regulation and win. Now, if they get 123 in overtime, okay, they might still have a chance. Not in regulation. And how do they do that? They got to rebound the ball better, as you said earlier. They got to rebound. They got to limit OKC's second chance points. And number two, don't turn the ball over in live ball situations. You can throw it out of bounds. That's okay, right? You can lose the ball out of bounds. That turnover is not going to kill you because you can get back and play defense. But you got to limit live ball turnovers because that's where, man, Oklahoma City are like sharks, like a feeding frenzy. Their defense, they pack it everywhere. And speaking of then the Pacers have to do defensively, okay? In game one, the Pacers did a great job of packing the paint. Almost something like in college basketball, you call a pack line defense. That's similar to what OKC has been playing in the half court all year. A pack line type defense. Pressure on the ball everywhere, but once you drive, they collapse everybody to the paint, okay? Indiana did that in the first game, which took two things. It lowered the free throw attempts. They didn't foul that much. They just got a lot of traffic in the paint, right? They clogged the paint. They forced OKC to kick it out and shoot jump shots, okay? Live by the J, die by the J, okay? OKC can make some jumpers, but they're not going to beat you just shooting threes. They have to get in the paint. They need the mid-range game, and they have to get to the free throw line. So if Indiana rebounds better, if they control turnovers in live ball situations, and they pack the paint defensively, every time SGA drives, you want to see 4 Pacer jerseys in the paint. Close out on the shooters. Close out. Make those contested J's. But don't give up 15-foot mid-range jumpers in the paint. Don't foul OKC Thunder players when they attack the paint. Don't put them on the free throw line. Force jump shots. Contest those jump shots and give them one shot. Rebound. Don't give them second chance opportunities. That's the key to success for the Indiana Pacers. And lastly, they got to shoot the ball well. The Pacers are one of the best shooting teams in the NBA. They win games because they score points. That's why they come from behind. It's not about their defense. Nobody said they're the best defense in the NBA. A lot of people have said that about the Thunder, right? But the Pacers keep coming back because of their ability to make open shots. They got to make open shots. They might need to hit 23s, but every time they drive and kick back out for an open look in Indiana, they got to make those shots.
We're with Billy Mims talking NBA Finals. I would not be shocked the Pacers win game 3 and go up 2-1. I would not. I'm taking the Thunder in 6. I could see the Pacers winning this game. I am not kidding. And then game 4, then we get our TV ratings. That's what I imagine we do. All right. You brought up Chet Holmgren earlier. I think he's a luxury player for the Thunder. I don't think he's gotten to his full potential. I feel like he can get better. I think you got to give credit to the Thunder. They have so much depth that, like, you'd think on a better team, he needs to give you 25. He needs to give you 12. It's amazing what they've done, but I don't think he's at his potential yet. And I think he's a luxury. That's how I call him. How do you look at Chet Holmgren?
Well, I agree with you. He's nowhere near his full potential yet. He's one of the most mobile and most skilled 7-footers the NBA's ever seen. And I'm gonna put him up. That's a high pedestal to put him on, right? But he is. I mean, that kid is still young.
Yes.
Okay. He could still be in college right now. Him and Anthony Edwards are younger than some guys I've coached against collegiately. Okay. Chris Finch and I were joking about that earlier this year, that when I told him when we played one game against a team in our league, the starting five's average age of that team was like 24 years old. And Chris said, man, that's older than Anthony Edwards. And I said, yeah, and Chet Holmgren. He's a young kid. And then the second thing against him right now, most of his early NBA career, a lot of this season, he's been out injured.
Yeah.
Injuries have played a big factor in him not yet reaching his full potential. Now, I liken him a little bit to a Porzingis, right? Because they both are long, lean, athletic. They both can step out, shoot the three, stretch the floor. I actually think Chet Holmgren is a little better inside player than Porzingis is. Chet Holmgren can go get you on the block with his back to the basket, and he uses his length and his athleticism and his smoothness to get around you or over you. There was one play last night too where Isaiah Hartenstein, the two bigs were playing together. They had the Twin Towers on the court together. And Hartenstein loves that little floater, you know. He's famous for that little left-hand floater. Last night he goes into the paint, pulls up, and it looks like he's doing that little left-hand floater. But it was either a really bad floater, an air ball, or a great pass to Chet Holmgren, okay? I think it was the latter.
A
great pass. But Chet not only caught it, right? I say it was a great pass. It wasn't quite the passes that the point guards make for those alley-oop lobs. And Isaiah forgot that Chet was 7 feet plus. So he threw it a little low. Chet went up and had to freeze a little in midair. You go back and look at it. You don't see many 7-footers that can do this. He caught it at the apex of his jump, like frozen to catch it below the rim. He caught it, froze, and then kind of exploded a little more and went back up to finish the play. He's paused in midair, caught it, and exploded again. You don't see too many 7+ footers that have hands like that, mobility like that. That kid's got a great future. The only thing standing in his way is health. He's got to stay healthy.
You're absolutely right. And I just think of the NBA draft where the Magic had the first pick. If the Thunder would have had the first pick, they'd probably take Paolo. Maybe maybe they take Paolo at 1, put him with SGA, and they also take that Williams guy. That could have been their big 3. I mean, look, you and me talked about that draft heading into that night, and no one knew who the Magic were going to take until the pick was made. I am on record as saying this. I had a guy, one of the Magic, I'm at the arena when it was Amway, Kia, whatever it's called now. So like 5 minutes before the pick is made, one of the guys working for the Magic goes, "Hey, it's going to be Paolo." And I'm like, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, we know the pick is." So I knew 5 minutes beforehand. The whole crowd did not know until they said Paolo Banchero. And you thought it was going to be Chet Holmgren. I think or remember Jabari Smith, the kid from Auburn.
Yeah, from Auburn.
Went to Houston. So you didn't know. That's a great what if now. What if the Magic took Chet Holmgren and then Paolo goes 2 to the Thunder? I mean, it's like, I still think, and I want your hot take. I think Paolo is still the right pick for the Magic at 1. I think he's the best, the most potential to be a future, Hall of Famer. He could be a 5-time All-Star. I think they made the right pick. Do you feel that way with the Magic at 1, taking Paolo over Chet there?
I do. And if you look back at it, you got to look at Chet's been injured a lot since that draft. So you got to go back and say, well, how would the Magic have even fared if Chet was out that many games over his first couple of seasons with the Magic? I believe they fared a lot better under Paolo. And Paolo's been injured as well, but not as often, not as long as Chet.
Yeah, so, Chet missed his rookie year.
Yeah.
The injury. So you're absolutely right.
All of it. So that's what I'm saying. The length of his injuries has been a factor to his development, whereas it hasn't with Paolo. Paolo has been a superstar since day one for the Orlando Magic, and he's been there. He's the face of the Magic right now, right? I think it's patience. Is all it is patience. Both the Magic and the Thunder are 2 of the youngest teams overall in the NBA, with their major talent being young, youthful major talent, okay? And look at this. The Thunder are in a great place right now, picks-wise, draft picks-wise, to pick up a couple of more superstars in the next draft or 2. So they're sitting really pretty right now as good. Look at how good they are right now. The toughest thing for the Thunder is going to be hanging on to everybody they have at the moment.
See, this is why this is a crazy scenario we're in. They could win the NBA championship and then call up the Milwaukee Bucks and say, we still have 50 draft picks and we maybe can give you a Chet Holmgren for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And you legitimately, again, won the championship, could be a new dynasty, win the next 3, and that could be on the table, right? That could happen.
Well, number one, you got to keep giving Sam Presti some credit.
Oh, amazing.
Okay.
He's incredible.
I mean, you know how I feel that, Mark Daigneault, I felt should be the coach of the year. Okay. He should have been named the NBA coach of the year, winning 68. The progress he's made in his, 5-year tenure at OKC, from a team that won 14 games, I believe, in his first year, to a team that won 68 games and is everybody's favorite now to win the NBA championship. That he should have been the NBA coach of the year. Sam Presti, in my opinion, building a team with this young, not going after all these vets around them, not saying we need some veteran leadership around us. He's got a youthful basketball team that doesn't play like young bucks. They play like older veterans. They actually, the old saying, act like you've been here before.
Yeah.
When guys kind of go crazy for getting to the stage where OKC is right now. OKC, after every win in this postseason, they've acted like vets. They do act like they've been here before. They don't act like this is new territory, and it is, right? So Sam Presti put together the right mix of young guys. Now, saying all of that, they're in a position to do something like you just said, right? And I think there's a lot of people out there in Oklahoma City that are going to remember back when they had Russell Westbrook, Kevin Durant, James Harden. They had the best big 3 in the NBA with that group, right? And that was something like around 2012, something like that.
That's exactly what it is.
When they were really, really good, right? What did they do? They didn't keep that core nucleus together. One by one, they started peeling them off. Let's get rid of this guy and go after let's get rid of this guy and go after this guy. They didn't keep that team together. If they had, Mark, I'll say this. They'd have done whatever it took to keep those 3 together in their prime. OKC would already be a dynasty in NBA history.
They couldn't pay everyone. It's funny. If they were in the 1980s, they would have been like the Boston Celtics. They would have kept everyone. Everything would have been fine. But you're right with these contracts now. You maybe could have 2 mega contracts. You saw this with Boston with Brown and Tatum. You can't build this way. I'm fascinated to see what happens, but they can win a championship. And this is what I'll tell you. The door is open right now. This is your chance if you're the Thunder to win. And by the way, I don't take the Seattle title. You can't be like, oh, well, the Sonics won. So that no.
Different.
This is the Thunder. This is your best chance. There's no Steph Curry. There's no LeBron. No one's in your way except Tyrese Halliburton, Siakam. Go win this title if you're the Thunder. That's how I look at it.
I agree. And I'm an Atlanta Braves fan, okay? So I know exactly what you mean, right? Here's my point. I don't ever remember the Milwaukee Braves, right? And I know that's where the Atlanta Braves came from, but Milwaukee's got another team now. Probably soon Seattle will too, right? All this, where you came from, okay, the LA Lakers came from Minneapolis.
Yeah.
Right? But do people look at the Minneapolis Lakers as being the history of the Minnesota Timberwolves? No. Minneapolis Lakers went out there to LA, okay? Do people in LA look at Minnesota and say, yeah, but they were our history? No, okay? Showtime in LA is not about 1,000 lakes in Minnesota. So my point is this, right? You hit the nail on the head. They could make a move to go after an Antetokounmpo and take Shai Gilgeous-Alexander to another level, or they could try to stay where they are and keep building with lower price entities that add to what they got, as opposed to having to subtract from what they got. Here's the problem they have. Chet and Williams, right? Chet and Williams, okay? Those two guys are still low paid, relatively low paid.
It's a good point.
They're still in their rookie part of their contract, right? Okay. They haven't been around long enough. They're soon coming out of that. And they are the big three. So again, it makes you look back to Durant, Harden, and Westbrook, the big three. You said it a moment ago. OKC couldn't afford to keep them all then. The question is, will they be able to work the deal out to keep the current big three together, or do they have to get rid of a couple to bring in a bigger big three?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because it reminds me in the NFL with Kansas City, where the Chiefs, they let Tyreek Hill walk. And he's a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. But like, we can't pay him. So what they do, they said, we're going to give Mahomes the money, which is the smart move. He's a future Hall of Famer. And Kelsey, we're keeping him. And then we're going to have to redo this through the draft. I wish the Magic had these problems where they're in the finals and, they could do all these players. But yeah, you're right. You won't be able to keep all three. You'll keep SGA, and then you have to decide. Are you going to move Chet Holmgren or Williams? And then you're going to have to keep doing it through the draft. You're right, because they're going to lose some of these guys.
And here's another thing that hurts you, the way the draft works, okay? And the way the contracts, the salaries work, okay? What is really huge about OKC right now? The culture that team has built together.
Bingo.
And it's a youthful culture where they all believe in each other, right? Yeah. Last night on Scott Van Pelt on Sports Center, right? Mm-hmm. After the game, sit in the center court, SGA comes over and sits down with SVP. And I'm telling you, SVP starts asking SGA about Chet Holmgren. Man, the words coming out of SGA were nothing but belief, confidence, pride, friendship, all those things that said, that's my guy. That's my guy. I mean, they got each other's back, right? And when you start messing around with that, even if you go get big name players, better players, there's a lot of guys that will come to Oklahoma City and score points, grab rebounds, block shots. There'll be a lot of guys in the marketplace for big money, and Oklahoma City, we can do that. We have the money. We have draft picks. We have this. We can make deals, right? But can you guarantee that those proven veteran players, all-star players, are going to come in and continue the culture that is so successful for the OKC Thunder right now?
It's a great point. It really is. And I think they've been shielded being in Oklahoma City. If this team was in New York or LA, the egos, all the outside noise. Yeah, you're right. All these guys came up together. They learned to win together. And you're right. And you know what? I'm happy you said about SGA. He is a great leader, and he's got his teammates back. And you know what? You should. We're in June. We've been going since September. This is it. Okay. Sound like, oh, well, like with the Knicks, well, in the Atlantic paper, they already have an article that Cat didn't like that Thibodeau was doing this. What are you talking about? We're trying to win. We're trying to get to this part. All right, let's end with this. Are you going to be coaching the New York Knicks? Are you putting your hat in? Are you putting in your hat? Would you coach that team? Are you ready?
Absolutely, I would.
Yeah. The haircut alone on Madison Avenue. Chef's kiss. Your hair would look great at the Garden.
Thank you. Now, you know what's funny, though? I mean, Jay Wright is a great guy, great individual, great coach. 3 of his former players played for the Knicks, and he's already come out and said, no, thank you. I'm not interested in the job. I'd rather stay retired. I'm like, are you nuts?
Dude,
no disrespect to Jay Wright. No disrespect.
This is what I said about the Lakers job. Okay. You got the guy at UConn. He's Hurley. He's won 2 titles. I get it. But you have a chance to coach the Lakers, and you have a chance to coach LeBron, even though that'll probably drive you go crazy. Like, you got there's certain jobs in sports, right? And this is the Knicks job right now is like gold. You're the man, right? And if you're the guy that can get them to the promised land, you're the man. No, sorry, I'm just going to stay on CBS. You're crazy. Take the job.
But obviously his life is a lot easier right now than winning in the NBA. I've heard the Knicks might have tossed some names around. I've heard John Calipari mentioned, Arkansas's current former Kentucky. But remember this, John Calipari coached right across the river. He was in New Jersey.
Yeah, he did.
Right?
He was younger. You're right.
And they didn't have a lot of success with John Calipari in New Jersey, right? They didn't make it anywhere near the success that Thibodeau has had, right? You got to get a special individual to coach the Knicks, somebody that can handle the limelight, somebody that can handle the New York media. New York media is the toughest on the planet, sports media. Yeah. The sports media at New York. And very early in my coaching career, Mark, I was very blessed. I worked for a coach in South Carolina that was friends with Hubie Brown. And so we got to go up to the training camp every year. And I was up there back in the 80s. And I went to training camp in the early 80s up in New York. And that was when Patrick Ewing was like a rookie coming from Georgetown to the Knicks. Oh. And the practices were on Long Island at one of the nice college facilities there on Long Island. And I went to practice twice a day, every day. Rick Pitino was a very young assistant coach to Hubie Brown on that staff. And they had one of the greatest Knicks players of all time, one of the all-time scoring legends.
Can I say Bernard King? Is that who it was?
B. And Hubie used to call him. And I give you one last story here to finish with, okay?
Okay.
So I'm at training camp with watching Hubie Brown, soaking it all in, right? I'm a young basketball nut, and I'm there. This is the New York Knicks. I've watched them on TV all my life, and there's Hubie Brown coaching, and I'm watching a young Rick Pitino out there, and I'm watching these great players. And there's Bernard King, right? And there was a player guard, Darrell Walker. Remember Darrell Walker? Rookie guard, I believe, that year as well, right? So I'm watching in the practice, and the place is packed. I mean packed, Mark. There must have been 500 media passes in there watching this practice, right? Preseason, maybe day 2 of practice. And so they're scrimmaging at the end of practice, and there's a transition play up and down the court, fast break play, right? Bernard King blocks a shot, grabs the ball, puts it on the floor, starts taking off down the floor. And it's like, I'm excited. What's going to happen? Darrell Walker, who's a great defender, was an outstanding defender in college basketball. And I'm watching him get back, sprint back. And I'm saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be one-on-one going to the hoop. Bernard King, Darrell Walker, great offensive player, great defensive player. What happens? Darrell Walker jumps in, sets himself, takes the charge, bam! Bernard King goes right through Walker, goes flying to the floor, whistles are blowing like crazy, right? Hubie Brown runs over to Bernard King, leans over him. B, you okay? You all right? B, you all right, right? B, you're okay, right? B, you're okay, right? Bernard kind of gets up a little groggy. Yeah, coach, I'm all right. I'm fine, coach. And Hubie turns and looks at Darrell Walker and says, what the hell were you thinking? Don't you know there's no such thing as a charge in the NBA? And at that moment in time, I understood the hierarchy of the NBA. Rookie guards, as great a defender as they are, they don't want to take a charge on the team's superstar. That was my first NBA moment with a superstar, Bernard King, right? And a young Patrick Ewing and a young Darrell Walker. Tremendous experience for me. But I know what it's like because I've been there and I saw that media. And I'm telling you, it will take a special person in New York to do 3 things. The next head coach of the New York Knicks has got to be a guy that can handle the spotlight. He's got to be a guy to handle the big egos of NBA players. and he's got to be a good X and O coach. You need all three to succeed in the mecca of professional basketball, the basketball mecca of Madison Square Garden, Manhattan, New York City. And it is a 24/7, 365 job being the head coach of the New York Knicks. Good luck. I'd love to have the job.
Oh.
I don't think I have a shot, but good luck to the guy willing to take it.
All right, I got 2 minutes. Just want to tell you this story. And that was awesome. I've never heard this one before. All right. And neither are our viewers. That was awesome, telling the Bernard King story with Hubie Brown. That's right. One time I was at NBA Summer League in Orlando when it was still there. Now they moved. They just put it in Vegas. I stood by Patrick Ewing. And I don't think people realize how big he is in person. He is tall. He's one of those who are like, yeah, he's a 7-footer. Oh, no, he's bigger than 7 feet. He's probably 7'3". He is gigantic. And my first reaction as a homer is, how did Jordan climb the ladder to dunk on this guy multiple times? I don't understand. You can't. You talk about Chet Holmgren. Chet Holmgren's that tall. You know what? All right. Game 3's coming up, I believe, tomorrow night, or I don't, with the final.
Wednesday.
Yeah, that's it. We need 5 days to travel, and then
no. In the finals now, you can't play a game without 2 days. You gotta have 2 days.
I'm
2
so
days
sorry.
break.
Oh yeah. Well, guess what? I work every day. Every day. Okay. Coach Mims, thank you so much for coming on, and I hope I can get you on again later in the week. All right, man.
My pleasure, Mark.